Hey dudes, it's Llarold. Patch 11.1.5 is here, it has been with us for nearly a week, and there is a lot of complaining going on among content creators right now. There's pretty good reason for that. The announcement of the new Dinar system has been a bit of a disaster. It feels as though right now each time Blizzard takes a step forward, they also take a step back. They are running in place. The decisions Blizzard is making with the cartel chips in particular are puzzling. I want to diagnose exactly what's going wrong with the Dinar rollout, including a huge issue that Blizzard has clearly missed along the way, and propose some solutions to fix this whole situation. There is going to be some negative stuff in this video, so let me just preface it with something positive. From a moment-to-moment gameplay perspective, I really enjoy the state of the classes I'm playing right now, and the content that we're doing in patch 11.1. I am having a lot of fun. I know we just put out a video about how Brewmaster Monk is a train wreck, which is still true, but Demon Hunter is strong, Paladin, Warrior, and DK are all extremely fun. I'm really having a lot of fun playing all of them. And that is what I mean by running in place. There are a lot of good things to say about WoW right now, but there are also a lot of unforced errors, and they're just kicking the ball into their own goal as hard as humanly possible with this one. So let's get into it. Alright, Dinars, aka Puzzling Cartel Chips, aka the thing that everybody's pissed off about right now. I'll start by just reading Blizzard's original post about them in the run up to patch 11.1, and as you can see, I have an old archived Wowhead post from January because this was originally on the patch 11.1 forum, the PTR forum, which obviously doesn't exist anymore because the patch 11.1 PTR is down, so you can't find this original post anymore. Thankfully, it's been archived. I will link to this if you want to read the whole thing in entirety. You know, it's pretty long. I really want to focus on the cartel chips, which were originally unlocked at Renown 17 and Renown 19. This is the raid Renown that we already know and have experienced. You get 1 rank per week if you do the raid. So this is stuff that would have been given to you 4.5 months into the raid. All right. So at Renown 17, the goal was to have players receive a Puzzling Cartel Chip, which you could trade for a weapon trinket or some sort of special item from Liberation of Undermine. It would be very similar to Dragonflight and Shadowlands' Season 4 currencies that allowed you to buy a specific piece of gear that came from a raid, and then that would just scale up to max rank of 14 with crests and Valor Stones. You just farm the crests, Valor Stones, upgrade the gear. They even said this here, it could change before launch, foreshadowing, but the intent was for these to be fully upgradable and usable by anyone that reaches this point with the raid Renown, and not locked or conditioned to certain difficulties. This was the original plan. This was the expectation that Blizzard set all the way back in January, right? January 15th, they put this out there, and in the intervening 3.5 months, they did absolutely nothing to dispel that notion. It's also important to point out that these were power spikes that were and still are scheduled very late in the patch cycle. You know, like I said, 4 months in, 4.5 months in, and they would also line up with the raid damage and healing buff, hitting its max level of 18% more damage and healing. We're talking about 2 pieces of deterministically acquired gear 4 to 4.5 months after a patch release. That's like weeks before the next PTR cycle starts up. This is not logging in and having full bested slot gear week 1 of a patch. You know, this is all a big power spike at the end of a patch cycle. Feels good, but you'll notice that it's also all very raid focused. It's all raid gear, it's all extra damage in the raid right here, and it requires raiding to unlock, obviously. It came from the rep. Even if you just run LFR to get it all, it offers absolutely nothing to people who don't set foot in the raid. And now here we have the announcement that came out a few days ago, shortly after patch 11.1.5 dropped. Kick the War Within Season 2 into Turbo Boost, 14th of May. There's going to be a new weekly quest that will drop then. You'll be able to kill 4 raid bosses and get... Initially, the announcement was that you could get 1 Puzzling Cartel Chip per week for a total of 6 chips, and then you would trade 3 of them for a piece of gear, so it would take 3 weeks for anything to happen. People were very upset about that. So they gave you the additional added carrot of getting just a full piece of gear on the first week, but still... 3 weeks of grinding to get 1 piece of gear after that, and a total of 3 pieces of gear maximum on each character. But then here's where things really go sideways. They've made it so that in order to purchase Mythic Track gear, you have to have killed the raid boss on Mythic difficulty. If you want to purchase Heroic Track gear, which is a different piece, meaning that you could, if you're somebody who's progressing on a Mythic boss still at this point, you might buy an upgrade that is heroic, kill the mythic boss and then have to spend a second item buying the mythic piece. You know, feels very stupid to do that. Heroic gear, you just have to kill the boss on any difficulty, so like LFR, that's fine. But obviously, heroic gear has a much lower item level, much lower value going into the next patch than mythic gear does. I've seen this Reddit comment bouncing around in a lot of threads. It's called the turbo boost because you need to buy a boost in order to use it. And that is the situation here, whether Blizzard realizes it or not. For Mythic Plus focused players, for people who want to play their alts and aren't raiding on them, the best course of action is to buy a boost, a carry through the raid. I don't like boosting legitimate or otherwise. It tends to be connected with RMT, and RMT in games is something that we do not agree with as a channel. Both of us want to play games the way they are intended. But it is a big issue. We regularly get sponsorship requests from boosting websites offering us shocking amounts of money. We turn them all down, and we always will. Blizzard has accidentally created the greatest news announcement of all time for these people. Demand for raid carrying services, both legitimate and terms of service breaking, will be at an all-time high. I don't think this is the intended outcome on Blizzard's art, but it is painfully obvious to me that this is the only thing that would happen if the system was designed in the way that they have done it here. I am still really amazed at how they could have missed this. They've gotten a lot of negative feedback to this exact tune and not responded to it yet either. It is legitimately puzzling what they're doing with the cartel chips. It does make us wonder a little bit whether it is intentional. So they followed the initial announcement up, which was very, very negative, by kind of in a lot of way doubling down, but then also relenting and saying like, sure, you'll get one piece of gear on the first week. You know, that's kind of all they really did in terms of throwing players a bone. So as you can imagine, that's not going to be enough to make people stop being mad. They feel baited. They are right to. This was bait. For 3.5 months, they were told no limits. then the items come along, the announcement comes along, there are limits. But that's not all. There is also the item level increase in the turbo boost, which is just kind of hidden in a little line here right at the top. There's going to be 2 extra upgrade tracks for heroic and mythic level gear. And that means there's even more work to be done to getting your characters up to the maximum item level achievable. So let's start with a silver lining on this front. This is kind of great news for Mythic Plus pushers. They can go another key level or 2 higher. And that's neat if you care about pushing the key level up from 21 to 22. I don't. You can't make me care about the number getting higher if the mechanics stay the same. Here is the real important question with this particular decision. Since maximum item levels are going to go up by another 6 or 7 points because of this, do you think that Blizzard's going to make the content that comes in Season 3, the next raid, all of that, harder to compensate for the item level increase that we're getting here? Or is the new content just going to be easier than Season 2 was? It seems obvious to me that it's just going to be harder. I don't think that the random mid-season gear treadmill reactivation is going to make the game easier in Season 3. The result of that is that if you don't log in and farm more crests now, or I guess May 14th, you're already behind when Season 3 starts, before it even starts, actually. There is no new content, but the gear upgrade cycle has begun once again, and crests are still not account bound. Valor Stones are account bound instead of being removed, but crests are not. So it's a fresh run on the treadmill on every single one of your characters that you want to keep competitive. In conjunction with the slow rollout of patch content throughout all of 11.1.5, this feels like a deliberate stalling tactic. It's kind of a way to reheat leftovers. Now, just when you thought you were done with gearing up your characters and you could move on to alts, actually no, you have to farm another 30 crests in all 16 of your item slots, so 480 crests per character. Regearing a character is a task, it's a chore. That doesn't mean it's not fun. Chores can be fun. I like doing laundry. But farming upgrades is a grind. It's another 30 dungeons or more per character. There is a reason that Blizzard has historically tied gear acquisition to new content releases. It feels fun and new and exploratory to go get upgrades in new content. A new raid, new dungeons, all of that. This is a game called Increase the Number. I'm opening up my calculator app. I'm playing it right now. The number is larger. The content is the same content that I did 2 months earlier, but now the number has an extra 0 at the end. It is, in fact, more numbery. I think if the Turbo Boost item level farm mechanic was a Mythic Plus only bonus that worked similar to the way that the intended Horrific Visions enchants will work in this patch, where you acquire them in this patch, they last for the rest of the season, and then they despawn the moment that the season ends, I think no one would have any complaints. If this worked similarly to the 18% damage increase that players get in the raid, the damage and healing buff, which, you know, I think we're already getting that. That is enough of a difficulty turn down knob on the raid. We don't also need an extra 7 item level for that. Just make that apply to Mythic Plus as well. I think that would remove all of everyone's complaints. I think everyone would be happy. That actually sounds pretty sick to me. I would like that. Instead, having to farm an extra 480 crests per character is annoying. This causes some more issues as well. Players who've crafted pieces of gear will now have to recraft them again with a new currency that they will then have to acquire called an augmentation matrix. I guess you can buy them, so that's like some sort of currency sink. We'll see whether that's another crest sink or a gold sink or whatever. But the point here is, this is really creating a lot more problems than it's solving. I think there are so many other easier ways, like just giving Mythic Plus players some sort of equivalent to the damage and healing bonus that raid players get. I think that would work for everyone and not cause these weird balance problems down the line that randomly boosting the item level by another half a tier midway through a patch seems to be doing. Okay, let's wrap this burrito up. In terms of what players want, in terms of what I want, it's simple. I want a shorter gearing treadmill. I like finishing a character, saying to myself, this character is done, it's full best in slot. Then I can move on to another one. I want the ability to transfer crests to other characters once I'm done with them on my main. I want more control over item drops, especially when it comes to Mythic Plus trinkets. And I want more consistent class tuning on underperforming specs. I mean, this is something I didn't even mention before, but the fact that you're able to buy items that come from the raid, that's cool if your best in slot comes from the raid, but what about if you're me? What if you're any tank and your best in slot trinkets all come from Mythic Plus? I would like to be able to deterministically get those at Mythic track item level at some point. Wouldn't that be nice? Not even a consideration. It really should be. I know I've asked for all of this before, but I keep asking because it isn't happening. Unfortunately, it looks like the exact opposite of what I would like is what's planned for us on May 14th. Either way, I'm still going to be there farming more crests and running on the treadmill, even if I am unhappy about it. The good news is that since I'm playing Paladin and Warrior, I will actually still be having a good time. That isn't going to stop me from complaining, but I'll be having fun while I'm doing it. Alright, that's it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more like it. And if you want to support us even further, consider becoming a channel member. Thanks for watching. Bye.